Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. Hope you guys have been able to burn some nitro. I've been working on this thing and I have completed it. This is a short chassis Revo, so it's the original 2.5 chassis with extended rear arms. So these particular arms Traxxas offers, and they offer a 10 millimeter increase in length or wheelbase in the closer hole to the front, and then 19 millimeters is the furthest far back one. So I decided to maximize this short chassis Revo build. Maximize the wheelbase. I decided to install these and I have them on the back. I also have orange front springs. They are a step stiffer than the original white springs that they put on this from factory. In the rear, I have the gold springs, which is also one step above. I have 60 weight shock fluid in the front, and I have 50 weight shock fluid in the back. The piston size is factory. I'm not sure how many holes. I think it's 2 holes. For the rockers, I have the P2 rockers. I believe the new 3.3 trucks come with the P2s, but originally, back in the day, this 2.5 came with P1s. The P2s are supposed to be a little bit more aggressive when it comes to handling, so they're a little bit stiffer, more progressive, so the chassis should stay a little bit more flat through bumps and whatnot. What's next? I have this Slayer receiver pack, I guess plastic assembly housing, and then I have the nice Slayer like open throttle setup here. Traxxas sells these for really cheap. Yep. So this is the first time I do a truck review video, or at least a video that gives an overview of the truck that I have either built or picked up. But yeah, this one is completely fresh. I built it from parts that I cleaned up and have accumulated over the years and over the last couple months with marketplace purchases of, you know, chassis sliders or whatever. The transmission is in really good shape. I'd say the gears and everything in the transmission are more or less like new. It's a forward only with the standard 2-speed ratio, and I basically have it set up as factory. I also have the standard gearing for the clutch bell and spur gear. The spur gear is a 38 and the clutch bell is a 15. I have the stock clutch in there, which I like, so we'll see how the Dynamite 19 does with that. I also, as you can see, I have all the nice little red bling parts. These are Traxxas tie rods and push rods. They're lighter and they're just nicer. So I wanted to kind of build a max effort 2.5 without going too crazy with the parts that I had. And this is kind of what I came up with. So still retains the OEM 125cc tank. I do have one servo, so it's not a 2 servo setup. It is a one servo setup. I got this metal piece right here that replaces the arm that has both. So I also added this longer servo horn to allow for more turning. So you can potentially see right there I did some Dremel work and opened up the turning radius basically by doing some work there. So there's a few things that you can do to this chassis to make it turn better and handle better, and Traxxas has a really good report on that and threads, I guess, on their website. So if anybody's really trying to get the max out of their Revo, Traxxas has great information. This right here, basically, this engine mount kind of like supports the whole chassis, so I wanted to make sure that was nice and solid. Got washers there, longer screws where I can. Let's see here, what else is there to this truck? Yes, so built the diffs. These diffs are nice and sealed from factory. So they're sealed diffs. These are just the OEM Revo diffs. They're not special. So the front, I have 30K silicone weight fluid, and then the back I have 10K. So that basically helps the rear end rotate, so you want to always have a lighter rear end, and that helps the tires rotate, so they can unload, I guess, a little easier, and that helps rotation. The front, the stiffer diff fluid helps with like stability under braking. See here. Yeah, biggest thing is you guys can see the engine. This is a used Dynamite 0.19, same engine that I covered in my previous video. So I'm quite excited to see how that goes. The pipe is a Dynamite Platinum pipe. So this whole powertrain setup is Dynamite. This wing is a Traxxas wing. Back in the day, Techno made a wing mount, which that wing mount mounts to the body post. The Traxxas wing is mounted to the shock tower, which is a much smarter design. That's pretty much it. I'm just trying to think about anything else that I might want to share for future reference. It's got a Tenergy 1600 milliamp battery pack. Yeah, so I had a lot of trouble getting this carb to open up fully with the Traxxas remote and receiver. That's not the TQI, just the base, generic 2.4 gigahertz one. And I had the Traxxas servo in here, 2075, I believe it was, or was it 2055? And I just couldn't get enough rotation, so it was just not pushing far enough to get this slide to open up all the way. So this particular slide on this carb opens up more, or it requires more movement than the Traxxas carb, so then that also requires more movement here, and so you need servo, I guess, that can do more than what its its normal rotation would do. And so I decided to change the radio to the TQI, since that one has the ability to set the endpoints, and I maxed it out to 120 and that still wasn't enough. So setting endpoints is quite important for the steering, but it is also important for the throttle, I guess. The Traxxas T-Max doesn't really have any issues with the throttle or the brake, but the Revo is definitely gave me some trouble. But anyways, the endpoint helped, but it didn't help enough. So then I changed the servo, and this particular servo rotated quite a bit more than the Traxxas servo, which I was very surprised about. But yeah, so this particular I guess end or attachment, if you will, I also had to Dremel that to make it work. Dremel the ball end off for it to work with the Revo. And when you do that, just make sure that you don't take more material off than you need to, because that'll make it more difficult for you to get full movement and a full throttle. I did take a video, and I'll post a snippet, but I have this tie wrapped, so I'm not able to show you guys, but basically I kind of set this air filter assembly up where it just sitting in the mount will naturally sit on the carb. This particular carb is more narrow than the Traxxas carb, so a tie wrap is necessary, or a zip tie, if you will, is necessary. And I just wanted to make sure that it sat as natural as it could to be, you know, sitting flush or sitting, you know, naturally on the carb without stress or anything. And so that caused me to raise this up, so I used some spacers. I raised this up and then I bent it accordingly. But yeah, that's the Traxxas Slayer, you know, filter hanger. I'm not using a what do you call it? A switch. I'm just manually plugging it in and off. That does give you a little bit more space in here. The switch, you know, adds space and wiring, and I don't have a switch, but I have these connectors, which this is mounted and connected directly to the receiver, and then this is just the battery. These are coming, this basically is just the Y connector, which I have a few of them from previous Revos. I guess the Revos use these for the two servos. So filter, so there is already a built-in filter in this tank, but I have this one as a safeguard just in case. It's just standard practice. But yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, I also like to run my bodies as low as I can. So this right here, this handle is much lower. Traxxas gives you like a couple engraved lines to follow if you want to cut it shorter, and so that's what I did. Um, so yeah, and yeah, so this is basically the Revo that I'll be running in the next, you know, whatever videos. Um, if there are other trucks that come around where I'll be running, I'll be also showcasing them and kind of doing something like this. These servos are super cheap servos from Amazon. Um, they seem to work. We'll find out how long they work. But yeah, they are Metal Gear, and they're not the fastest things in the world, but they seem to do the job. And for bashing, it's totally fine. The diffs are fully shimmed, you know, to the same standard as if you would shim a 1/8 scale diff. I did have to use 1/8 scale shims to make it work. Traxxas shims are not going to be enough. You'll have to find 1/8 scale, you know, Team Associated shims, Techno, whatever. They're all kind of the same size. But yeah, we'll see how this goes. I'll definitely keep you guys up to date, and you guys will see a lot more of this particular truck in the near future. I hope you guys have a great weekend.